Hi, welcome to Surviving Motherhood, or welcome back to Surviving Motherhood. It's been a little while since I've been here. I trust you're doing well. I am excited today to share with you some things, one thing in particular that God has been showing me over the past weeks. I've been spending a lot of time doing a Bible study. It's called Forever in Love with Jesus. It's written by Dee Breston and Kathy Tricoli. And a large part of the study is looking at the book of Hosea. Dee and Kathy talk about these different portraits of Jesus that we see in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And the Old Testament ones, a lot of them come out of Hosea. They talk about the terrible and tender sides of God. And as I've been looking more at the terrible side, I've been reminded how much we tend to prefer the tender side of God. We tend to prefer His lovingness and kindness and compassion. And that's all good. That's part of who He is. But He has a terrible side. That is a frightening side. He is holy. He is against sin. He wants our faithful devotion. And when that's not happening, God acts. He acts to bring His people back to Himself. And that's what I've been studying most recently in Hosea. I want to read something for you out of Hosea 13, where God says, "But I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. You shall acknowledge no God but me, no Savior except me. I cared for you in the desert, in the land of burning heat. When I fed them, they were satisfied. When they were satisfied, they became proud. Then they forgot me. So I will come upon them like a lion. Like a leopard, I will lurk by the path. Like a bear robbed of her cubs, I will attack them and rip them open. Like a lion, I will devour them. A wild animal will tear them apart. You are destroyed, O Israel, because you are against me, against your helper. Where is your king that he may save you? Where are the rulers in your towns of whom you said, 'Give me a king and princes'? So in my anger I gave you a king, and in my wrath I took him away. The guilt of Ephraim is stored up, his sins are kept on record. Pains as of a woman in childbirth come to him, but he is a child without wisdom. When the time comes, he does not come to the opening of the womb." That's our God. The terrible side, the ripping His children apart because they have turned from Him. We don't like to talk about that so much, but God is holy, and we need to recognize the full picture of who He is. I want to read another part from Hosea to you. This comes from chapter 11. And where is it? There it is, starting in verse 10. I told you God would tear His people apart to get them to return to Him. This is how He says it in Hosea 11:10. They will follow the Lord. He will roar like a lion. That's scary, that terrible part of Him. When He roars, His children will come trembling from the west. They will come trembling like birds from Egypt, like doves from Assyria. I will settle them in their homes, declares the Lord. The thing is, I think the reason that we don't like to talk about the terrible side of God is because, well, we think it's just mean. Because of our brokenness and our sinfulness, we just see that as mean. But when you study His Word, when you really begin to let Him speak, you'll see those terrible things. It's all because He wants to draw His children back to Himself. God doesn't inflict pain on us because He's some kind of sadistic maniac. He brings the pain into our lives to get us to turn around and look at Him, to come back to Him. And that's the tender side. God is holy and He is loving. He is terrible and tender. He is perfect in everything He does. And I have been so just excited to be learning more about this. I don't know how that comes across to you today. You know, sometimes I think God allows pain into our lives so that we will just rely on Him and trust Him and draw closer to Him. And sometimes I know He brings pain into our lives because we're turned away, because we're not following Him, and He's drawing us back to Himself. So I don't know where this finds you today, but I pray that God's Spirit would speak to you, that He would draw you close, and in fact, if you're turned away, that He would turn you around. Now go have a wonderful, Jesus-full day.